What do you mean by collaboration?
I think collaboration, it is a term we use quite loosely, and it does apply to a number of things. So in terms of the tangible things we see, collaborations can be in lots of formal and informal forms. So a formal alliance or partnership or a formal group, but it could be an informal alliance where several organisations get together to try and solve a common problem. But generally what we're talking about is we need to collaborate when we can't solve a problem on our own as an organisation or an individual, and it involves some pooling of resources and knowledge, because the problem can't be solved by one organisation alone. It involves some pooling. In terms of the approach and the style of research and the approach is an approach that first tries to problematize what's going on. So why is collaboration so difficult? Before we try and develop our practice, we need to really understand why is collaboration so difficult, and once we've got a deeper understanding of it, how can we improve our practice? So it's a better informed practice by a more realistic understanding of how difficult and complex collaboration is. And at sort of a high level, they'd probably say, well, we need to at least recognise that collaboration is complex before we launch into collaborations, and recognise that they probably need to be thought of in a different way.
Do you think there are barriers to collaboration then?
Well, I think collaboration is another form of human cooperation. So whenever humans seek to cooperate, it's problematic, even in a family situation. It's problematic when we need to collaborate and cooperate to achieve a common output. So once we multiply that to organisations and multiple organisations, all of those issues, because we're complex as human beings, become even more complex. And running through some of the theory, and this relates quite well to practice, that whenever we try and work collaboratively and work cooperative in any way, we come up against three types of problems. One is the problem of power, where if we're working collaboratively, we're actually giving up some of our individual power. To work collectively, we're giving up some of our autonomy to share decisions with others, and that's difficult for us to do. We also, if we're working together, have to trust who we're working with, and we often start from a position of mistrust rather than trust, and that takes a long time to build. And the other one is a problem of understanding. I mentioned across the logistics supply chain, lots of different specialities, expertise, different forms of knowledge. Difficult to come up with a common understanding where people's knowledge and their expertise is so complex, difficult and varied. So to achieve that commonality is very difficult. So three common problems, power, trust and understanding, are things that we always come up against, but particularly in a collaboration. And we need to think, how can we mitigate those problems in the way we operate the collaboration?
That's very interesting. Some ideas in logistics and supply chain management have looked at the role of relationships, as you're suggesting, as being almost the main aspiration of supply chain management. It's not necessarily about the processes, it's building up that relationships. Now, I wonder, it's almost returning to the contractual discussion again, I apologise, but many logistics activities are now being outsourced, and we talk about third party and indeed fourth party logistics providers. How would you see that emerging into the future when this is sort of the current trend for business?
Well, I think there's still a form of collaboration if we're outsourcing, clearly. And I think the challenge is each time we set up these different types of relationship, one of the challenges, and I spoke about power and trust and understanding, is wherever we bring parties together, there's always going to be some sort of conflicting or competing interests. And that's a challenge. So if we've got working across the public and private sector boundary, we've clearly got competing interests there in terms of what those organisations are trying to achieve. And really, the only way to deal with those potential conflicts is at that interpersonal level, where you build up sufficient trust that both parties are going to act to try and solve the common goal, as well as perhaps serving their own interests as well.